10 years ago, I went to university and I studied financial analysis. I got a Master of Science in that. At the time, I did not expect that at one point I will talk about an asset called Fartcoin. That's above $1 billion in market cap. Fartcoin is one of the leading meme coins on the Solana blockchain, and it is rallying while the rest of the market is rather still. Let's have a look at who's buying here, who's selling here, what's actually driving the price. Let's see how much higher Fartcoin could potentially go. Now, this is not the first video on Fartcoin on this channel. I publish videos regularly. The very first one came out 252 days ago. And at the time, the video performed pretty much according to average. So the average video is this area here in gray, and the performance of that particular video is simply this blue line. So an average video at the time. The most recent update was published a month ago, and we can see how interest tends to rather decline. Now the video is underperforming what an average video on this channel does. Let's have a look whether or not this decline in attention could potentially be a danger for the Fartcoin price. Now, that first video from 252 days ago came out when the price of Fartcoin was still at 5 cents. So that was over here on the chart. We subsequently saw a massive rally, more than 3,000%, a subsequent dump of 90%, and now our recovery. So clearly it pays off to be early in crypto. But how is it actually possible to even discover a token like this that early? Here is how I did this at the time. There was meme coin season. Everybody was trading meme coins very actively. And so we simply followed the influencer money. And we noticed how Kyle Chessy bought $20,000 worth of Fartcoin at those 4 to 5 cents. So that was in 2 transactions. And so really, it wasn't my idea to suddenly get into Fartcoin. It was all driven by Kyle Chessy, who, by the way, at the time did not talk about this on his channel. We simply just tracked his wallet. So we did some on-chain analytics to find out his wallet address, and then we got notifications as he bought and sold. But let's get back to Fartcoin. How much more upside potential is there? Who's currently buying? Who's currently selling? What's driving the price? Let's compare with other meme coins. Here's an overview of the largest meme coins on the Solana chain. And surprise, surprise, the official Trump token is at number 1. It's got a market cap of 1.7 billion. Mark my words, I believe that the official Trump token is very likely going to lose that position 1 year from now. There will be other meme coins that have more attention. But this video is not about Trump. This video is about Fartcoin. It's the 3rd largest meme coin with a market cap of 1.1 billion. So really, when we just compare this within the Solana ecosystem, there isn't that much more potential outperformance. There's definitely no 10x from here. It will probably even be hard to get a 2x from here, at least if the market overall doesn't suddenly see a massive rally. Now, this is all the meme coins on Solana. However, Fartcoin was launched in a specific manner. It was launched via the Pump.fun ecosystem. So a launch pad where there are fairly launched meme coins. And here's a list of all the Pump.fun ecosystem tokens. Fartcoin is at number 1 with a lot of distance to number 2, which is Peanut the squirrel. Where does this delta come from? How is it possible that Fartcoin is 5 times larger than the number 2? On chain, when we look at the trending tokens on the Solana chain, Fartcoin is the largest in terms of liquidity. There are $21 million in the pool. But interestingly enough, even though we've got all of that capital on chain, there's not that much trading activity. In the last 24 hours, only 500 wallets or so interacted with Fartcoin on the chain. The exact number is 545, and there were slightly more sellers than buyers. Still, the price went up because the average buyer tended to move more capital than the average seller. We've got close to 164 wallets on chain, but not all of those wallets are created equal, right? Some of them might just be automated arbitrage bots that maybe just hold a few cents worth of the token, while others might hold hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of the token. So we have to look into more details. What we've got over here is the number of first-time traders for the last month, every single day on the Solana chain. And on the right side, we've got the number of token transactions, still directly on chain. And it seems like the number of first-time traders didn't really change that much. It fluctuates a bit, but it seems to be roughly 1,000 wallets that start interacting with the token for the first time on a particular day. The number of token transactions rallied a bit and is now coming down again. Very similar to how the price first went up and then came down. Now what we've got over here is the trading volume. So on the left side in US dollars and on the right side normalized to 100% because we are segregating the trading volume by wallet size. We've got the small retail wallet, so that's a wallet with less than $1,000 worth of the token, medium-sized retail up to $10,000, large retail up to $100,000, and then the whales, which is above 100,000. We can clearly see that over time the small wallets tended to make up more and more of the trading volume. Now I don't think this is because of retail interest, because as we've seen, the attention on Fartcoin tends to rather decline long term. I think this increasing trading volume is arbitrage bots, at least the increasing fraction of trading volume. Overall though, in US dollars, trading volume on chain tends to rather go down. And here's probably the most important of the charts. This looks at the number of retail investors versus whale investors over time. And the way we make this distinction is by looking at how many tokens, how many Fartcoins are held in this particular wallet. Only when a wallet holds at least 1,000 tokens, it's counted for this chart on the left. For the chart in the middle, it's 10,000 tokens. For the chart on the right, it's 100,000 tokens. Since Fartcoin is now close to $1, this roughly equates the dollar amounts. We see a clear trend. We see very fast accumulation by the whales in the early days, somewhat slower accumulation by the medium-sized retail wallets, and then even slower by the small retail wallets. So it's the same as always. The big whales, the smart money, tends to buy in earlier than the masses. But what's even more interesting about this is that we don't really see much growth recently anymore. In this year, even the number of retail investors didn't grow anymore. And the number of whale investors even went down from 1.2k to 1k. So a decline of 20% roughly. Now the price development of Fartcoin is much more volatile than that, right? We've seen an almost 100% increase, subsequently a massive dump, then again a recovery. But we don't see that volatility in the number of whales. So where does this disconnect come from? How can Fartcoin suddenly rally by more than 600% when retail isn't buying and when the whales are also rather offloading? I think the answer is perpetual futures. It's the bets on the price, the bets with leverage that dictate now where the price of Fartcoin is going. Fartcoin ownership is now among the market makers, among the centralized exchanges. In the last 24 hours, we saw 35 million worth of trading volume on BitGet, a centralized exchange. Yes, we also have decentralized exchange trading volume, but it tends to be smaller. And now compare this with the perpetual futures market. Here we've got 480 million of trading volume. Much, much more. So it's really the perpetual futures where price discovery happens today. If the price of Fartcoin is going up, it's because of more short-term leverage in the asset. Most perpetual futures traders of Fartcoin bet on rising prices because the longs have to pay the shorts to get more price exposure. The funding rate tends to be positive for Fartcoin. The more aggressive the longs become, the higher the price gets. What we've got over here is the amount of bets that are open. So the open interest. There's now close to 700 million worth of bets on the Fartcoin price. And just have a look at this correlation, right? When the price is going up, the open interest tends to go up as well. And then the levered bets go down, the price very quickly follows as well. And so the market makers continue to do what they're best at. They move the price in the direction where most people lose the majority of money. So the point of maximum pain, the point of maximum liquidation. Because centralized exchanges make money with liquidation fees. And so when enough people bet on falling prices, the spot price simply gets pushed up and we've got all of the short liquidation. When then enough people bet on rising prices, the price goes down and we've got all the liquidations among the longs. So what started out as a very smart bet when the asset was still very small, while at the same time there was a lot of retail interest and people just continued buying into the token for months. That has now turned into a market of short-term manipulation via the perpetual futures, via all of those bets on the perps among the centralized exchanges, while the long-term holders on the spot market tend to rather get out of Fartcoin. And I don't think we can blame anyone for this because, again, the upside potential for Fartcoin really isn't that high anymore. We are already at 1 billion and the largest Memecoin on Solana is at 1.7 billion with the tendency to rather decline. Now, it's quite common that altcoins tend to underperform versus the major benchmarks, versus Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana. For example, have a look at this. This is Optimism. It's within the top 100 largest cryptocurrencies and it's just doing worse than Ethereum constantly. But we can also flip that chart around, right? This is now Ethereum relative to optimism. So we can make money when most people are losing. Or have a look at this. This is Balancer relative to Ethereum. Again, when we flip this around, we've got a very nice performance chart. And the story is always the same. This is the token inflation of Balancer. This is the token inflation of optimism. It's all going up over time. The early investors, the team, the insiders, the KOLs, they are all offloading over time. They get allocations, they get vestings, they might unlock their tokens a few months or years after launching of the project. And that creates constant sell pressure. And that's why we see so many altcoins doing so poorly long term. The demand for altcoins in aggregate doesn't grow as quickly as the supply does. Whenever I show those token supply charts on this channel, it's all from Tokenomics AI. So feel free to just go through that website, check out how much additional demand there has to be for a single altcoin just for the price to stay flat. Usually the altcoin demand isn't as high as the additional supply that hits the market. And so that's why the majority of altcoins is red over longer periods of time. That's why Bitcoin outperforms most other assets, because Bitcoin can't inflate like all of those altcoin projects. The Bitcoin inflation is only 0.8% per annum. Ethereum has currently an inflation of 0.7%. And most of those altcoins have much higher token inflation. That's why they are down. And so that's how I personally navigate this market. I'm simply betting on falling relative valuations. I'm of course not sharing the individual positions over here. This is part of Premium. It's down below, thebitcoinstrader.com. But in general, it's about having the odds in our favor. We don't want to try to pick the needle in the haystack, the 1 or 2 or 3 altcoins that go up. We just bet on the majority of bad tokens continue to stay bad, right? Why would they suddenly turn around when there's so much new supply hitting the market regularly, at least in aggregate? On average. Here's my performance in the last 2 months. So this is now via perpetual futures. I'm going long the asset that I'm long-term bullish on, and I'm going short the asset that inflates crazy like this and that just continues to go down long-term versus the benchmark. And so our community, of course, does very similar trades as well. This is the Share Your Wins channel where people show what kind of altcoins had been shorted and what kind of returns are possible. And it's all about risk management, right? Let's have a look at this. Stop loss move to 1.1, let the rest run. Because while it's nice to have the odds in our favor, it's still important to have proper risk management in place. If you get completely wrecked just because of a single short squeeze, just because there's short-term manipulation in a single asset in a short period of time, you don't want to lose everything. You want to have proper risk management. I'm of course sharing my personal trades in Premium as well. So this is a screenshot. This is the kind of opportunities we are looking at, right? We want to be in a long-term downtrend and ideally at the top end of that long-term downtrend. And then we open a short over here and wait for a quick dump to then take profit to then go on to the next poorly performing altcoin. Have a look at this example here. This is where I shorted WorldCoin. We got some nice individual gains here as well. And of course, the community copy traded that as well. So of course, I don't encourage just to blindly copy every single trade that I do, but it can be a first start to make initial gains. Again, before starting any of these kind of approaches, make sure that you learn about how to properly do bet sizing, how to do proper stop loss setting, how to also trail those stop losses over time. So there's this video here, risk management with relative valuation bets. You can also check out this using perpetual futures on Hyperliquid to bet on relative valuations. Both videos are roughly half an hour in length. So feel free to join us. It's currently $125 per month. There's also a 1-week money back guarantee. So in theory, you can just sign up, you can watch all the tutorials, and then after 6 days, you decide it's not for me. You can ask for a refund. I'll refund everybody, no questions asked. But of course, I hope that you will make money simply just by getting inspired by the community and by potentially copy trading me, and then stay subscribed. So feel free to check it out. The link to Premium is directly over here. Just click on that. It will lead you to the sign up page. If it's your first time here, feel free to subscribe. I publish this regularly. A like would be very much appreciated as well. It helps the channel grow. See you next time on YouTube or see you in Premium. Cheers.